We were literally the largest country without a capital market. So what to say is we're connecting those who need capital. So you're giving another option besides bank finance. And the real beauty of a stock exchange, and really what we're trying to do, is I can own a share with whatever, dependent on my own personal income. I could be a billionaire or I could be a student. We launched at the end of October last year. So we're approaching $1 trillion in trading.
$1 trillion in trading.
This is just borrowing and lending with each other.
What if you could invest in Ethiopia's economy with just 100 birr?
What if you never had to worry about a bank limiting your withdrawal?
AGI's guest, Mike, is turning these what-ifs into reality as the leader of the Ethiopian Securities Exchange.
We break down what it all means for the future of the country. Ethiopian Securities Exchange.
A securities exchange is basically a marketplace for shares. I always wanted to work in a bank. For finance people working in the bank, and I worked in the treasury function, so you really understand kind of the economy. It was a top 20 bank in the US. If a money market's operational, me and you can go to the bank and not worry about having maximum withdrawal. Earlier, I think I said the positives, right? I didn't say the harder parts. Capacity is major, and that's the work for all of us. I see changes even in the last couple of years in the society. Let me give you an example. So I gave training 2 weeks ago to a bunch of students at the capital market. The questions were, I was so taken aback. You think people don't know. The questions these guys are asking me, Americans would not ask me. In high school, I dropped a keyboarding class. That's how much I hated computers.
Wow.
Fast forward, I realized in the workplace, oh, okay, these are skills that matter. I spent a lot of time doing this and I liked it.
Thinking of Africa in a bright way. Do you share that? Mike, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
You know, it's really interesting because from the very outset, beginning this show, I was thinking that I would be meeting people, but I didn't know that I would be meeting the sort of people that I'm meeting. People with diverse experience and wisdom as well. And I'm thinking these days, am I cheating on this thing? So you're one of those guys that I feel I'm cheating on life because I'm getting this opportunity to speak to you about several things, and I'm so happy to meet you.
It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure. That's a big honor.
Yeah. So tell me who Mike is. Let's start from your childhood and tell me who you are.
Sure. It's always very hard to describe yourself to people. It's almost weird. But I had a very interesting beginning to my life.
All right.
So I'll give you a brief rundown. I was born in Greece, in Athens, Greece, as a child. I was born there. My father was working in the airline business at Ethiopian Airlines at the time, so our family was based there. So I was not even born here. So even my beginning was a bit different. So we lived there, I think, till I was 3 or 4. Then my father got posted back in Addis Ababa. So we came here. I went to school here, Greek school in Etamarkut. Between, I would say, 5 and 10, 11. So my first few years of schooling were here. And then life took a different turn. My father, again, he was posted outside of Ethiopia. So me and my family, we went to England, London, England. So it was my first time where I actually remembered living outside of the country. So by the time I was 11, 10, I had already been in 3 continents, exposed to many languages by 10, 11. I never learned Greek, unfortunately. Everybody asks me that. I started, but I forgot.
All right.
But so we lived in England for a couple of years. And then that was the last time I lived in Ethiopia, actually. I was about 10, 11. And I went to school there for 3 years. And then a lot of my family was in America. So my father got recalled here. But I was entering that stage where I was getting to high school, etc. And I had already relatives in the US, in the state of Texas. So in Dallas, I moved to Dallas around 13, 14 years old, a bit around high school. So that's the 4th country I lived in. And I'm still barely a teenager. So, you learn all these cultures, you're exposed to many people, the UK is very diverse. So is the US. I'm Ethiopian. And this is pre-internet age. So, you learn everything manually.
Yeah.
So it forced me to adapt to many environments. To give you a fun fact, I went to 5 schools. 5 years, I went to 5 different schools across 3 countries.
Wow.
So when I moved from Ethiopia, obviously I finished my last year. I went to 3 schools in England and then a 4th school in the US. Then I went to another high school. So I was I had to adapt constantly. And I think it's good to share this kind of information because it really helps you. It forms you as a person.
Yeah.
And then it makes you adapt. You're having to make new friends in different cultures, not just, the same culture. You don't necessarily meet as many of your own kind. So that's one reason I think I was exposed to so many people from all over the world by a very young age. And I think it formed my outlook in life. And then, but anyway, to cut the story short, I went to high school in Pennsylvania. I went to a boarding school there. It's quite popular with the Ethiopian community. It's called Lancaster Mennonite High School. 4 years I went to school there. So I basically lived in America from then on. Following that, I did my bachelor's degree. I moved back to Texas. I did a joint degree, economics finance. If you ask me why, I was interested in business. I actually wanted to be a pilot initially.
Really?
Because of all the traveling.
Really? Okay.
I was very lucky, obviously. I was privileged to travel all over the world. But my father talked me out of it the day I graduated high school.
Really?
Because he said the life is hard. But, begrudgingly, I ended up, changing my mind. I listened to him. He always appreciates because I actually paid attention and listened. So the only other thing I was actually interested in was business and finance. I didn't know anything about finance, of course. I'm a kid. But it fascinated me because it touches all of us. And, we come from a developing country. So finance is a big, is the big roadblock to development. Access to finance generally is the biggest issue we have in Ethiopia and across Africa. So I was always fascinated. I always wanted to come back to Ethiopia. I said, why don't I study this? And then I stumbled upon economics. It's a social science. You really have a wide lens with economics. People think, everybody studies, a certain branch, but it's so broad. And I love that about it. I liked social sciences and history. So I did a degree in those fields at the University of Houston. As soon as I finished that, I stayed there. Just to give the viewers idea, Houston, Texas is like the energy capital of the world. So a lot of the financial markets for energy are run in Houston. A lot of the energy companies have headquarters there. Shell, Exxon, all the big oil producers. So there's a big brain power in that region. And a lot of the employment is also in that area. So mid-2000s, just to give people an idea, I'm a bit older. So if you go back then, the global economy was very hot. Stock markets were very lively everywhere you go. Commodity markets were very, very lively. Oil price was at a record at the time. So there's jobs. The industry is just flush. You meet a lot of dynamic people. So I'll just continue. I worked for a couple of years at Citigroup. So Citigroup was an investment bank. They had an investment banking arm, but in Houston, they focused on the energy sector. So specifically, what did they do? Try to explain it in simple English. They all try to connect producers of energy, whether it's natural gas, oil, power, electricity. They'll connect the producers with the users and try to create financial instruments so that the producer, he can guarantee his price. It's kind of like our commodity exchange, except you're using different instruments. So if I'm a natural gas producer, I want to know my price 6 months from now that I'm going to get from my buyer. And then the buyer, it could be a factory. It could be a fertilizer factory. Let me try to relate it to what's happening in Ethiopia now. So, there's a fertilizer factory that's been announced. Fertilizer factories need a lot of natural gas as an input. So the fertilizer factory wants to know what price he's buying. So this is a pure commodity market. What you're doing is almost like insurance. But somebody has to take that risk. By themselves, they'll never connect. It's middleman. Even if you have a middleman, it's not as efficient. So you have investment banks, companies like Citigroup at the time, other large companies as well, other banks, also the producers, the Shells, the Exxons, they would have divisions. They would develop financial instruments to make both sides happy, and then they would earn a commission. So I'll tell the producer of gas, I'll tell the gas producer, because it's private. It's not a state run in the US. It's liberalized. So I'll tell the producer, okay, I'll give you a price of $10 per MBTU, who's the unit, but don't worry about the unit. Or it could be $100 per gallon of oil. So the investment bank say, I'll assure you, you'll get that. And then the buyer, I'll assure you, you're not going to pay more than 105 if it's oil. So the 100 minus the 105, the investment bank is basically taking that risk like an insurance company. And they find ways to obviously secure this without getting into the detail. But one thing I really want to focus on is it really exposed me to a really brilliant people very early on in my career. It really exposes you to financial markets more than you learn in the 4 years of school. 6 months sitting there, you hear so much, you learn so much. And what I liked about it a lot working there, I worked there 2.5 years, a very dynamic time between 2006 and 2009. What I enjoyed about it was you had people from all fields. It was not what you expect, finance, economics people. Majority were actually engineers. So this is current programming languages. Everyone is using Excel. Things were much more manual. But the kind of brain power you had, to give you an example, there was one of the managers, the heads for one of the power trading group, was a neurobiologist. He actually was a brain scientist from Yale, and he was doing this as his job and very successful at it. You had other guys who never studied finance, but they had a quantitative mindset that were doing this. So you're exposed to really brilliant people. If maybe some people are familiar with Enron. Enron was a big company in Houston.
Enron.
Enron.
What is it?
It was a big power gas company that operated in this market. So a lot of people I worked with actually came from there. Enron went bankrupt. They had a lot of financial issues. The guys went to jail. The leaders, there was a lot of shenanigans with their accounting. There's actually a book, I forgot the name, about their story. It's very fascinating about Enron. But now it's been about 25 years. So I worked with a lot of guys who worked there actually, were juniors there. Now they were more experienced. A lot of them came and worked with me. I worked under them. So why I say this for those familiar with the sector is that you pick up so much every day, more than a degree. And that taught me that you need to always surround yourself, if you can, with people who are brighter than you, in my opinion, or more exposure, because that's how you improve yourself. But anyway, I did that for a couple of years, and then I realized the value, where direction of certain things were going. A lot of the finance field is becoming more quantitative, more analytical. It's easy to say that today because we have AI and ChatGPT and all these things, and programming languages are open source. It's easy to find resources. YouTube is there. Back then, it was not like that. So I wanted to take a degree that was more analytical, because that's something that will last through time. And I was just genuinely interested.
All right.
So that's something I picked up there, and I went back to master's, my graduate degree. I went to Hopkins University. I did an economics degree there. So one reason I decided to go there is it has the largest concentration of economists in the world in Washington. Where else better to learn? You get an education in school, but you also get educated in internships and jobs, etc. So that was kind of my path.
Definitely. I would imagine as if someone, you telling me that you went to Johns Hopkins University, and I would immediately associate that with the vaccine, the trials
healthcare
that happened, and the healthcare related. But economics at Johns Hopkins is amazing. All right, let me take you back to your childhood, your upbringing. Wasn't it overwhelming, for example, to have a life in Greece, come back to Ethiopia and try other places, for example, Britain, and go to the US and experience whatever you have to experience in the US? Wasn't it a bit overwhelming? Tell me that experience, because I just want to know from the lens of an Ethiopian, that is not something that you would want to try. I remember my upbringing, and most of the things that I did in Ethiopia are these things that are linear. I mean, normal.
Yeah, to be honest, as children, it's our best time to learn things. So in this respect, I think it's the same.
Mm.
You don't know better. So that's what life gave you.
Mm.
So to be honest, I think it helps maybe my personality, God-given personality. It's not, I didn't decide it, but I think I'm more of a laid back person.
Mm.
I kind of, go with what's the flow, kind of. So maybe that helped me, one. Number two, like I said, I really think as a child, you're a sponge. So you're absorbing everything. And I was lucky at home. We were very exposed. I read a lot. My father forced me to read a lot at a young age. I had a family already living outside. So I had always the curiosity, would watch videos, learn about, what's going on in the rest of the world. In real time, I wouldn't say it's overwhelming. I think initially it was hard, but subconsciously. I don't think I noticed it at that time. I can't tell you. I don't, and by nature, I'm not one of those people who's homesick and, I miss this. I'm just not. That's just not who I am. I kind of look forward in general. So that's still today.
Would you say
I don't have regrets?
All right. Would you say that's worth it? Worth the experience that you've had? For example, now you're spending time with the loved ones that you have at home, and you see what you see, you experience what you experience, the love and everything.
Yeah.
Do you think it's worth it? I mean, what you went through?
I think so. Yeah, I think everything happens for a reason. We're put on this earth. All our directions, for better or worse, happen for a reason. Like I said, I'm the type I try really hard not to regret things. And if my mind goes that way, I try to deflect. But generally, to be very frank, I think it was worth it. I think it helped me become a stronger person. I think it helped me adapt a lot to different personalities. And I think that's one reason, personally, I think I get along with a broad array of people. And it's helped me, I think, cross certain bridges in life. It's helped me live here after all these years. But yeah, definitely, I would say not perfect, but I would say worth it.
All right. You mentioned some point, a very fascinating point about your time in the US, especially around college time or university time. Everything being manual and the digital devices that we have, the applications that we have today not being there. But it's still, despite all that, thriving in life, thriving in whatever you do.
Yeah, I mean, it's just being open-minded. I was lucky because I never was told you can't do this, you can't do that. And the US, I have to admit, is a big meritocracy, meaning it's based on merit. That's where you can actually achieve things based on your effort, in my view, at least back then. Excuse me. But it was not easy. You kind of have to guess a lot of things. You don't really have guidance. My parents never lived with me there. So I kind of learned things on my own. I don't think it's for everybody, don't get me wrong. But I know a lot of friends who I went to high school with today. All of us, we kind of figured it out. And I've seen the other side too, where you're kind of pampered and you have your family living there, you're babied a little bit. And sometimes, there's not that pressure. We all respond to incentives. And if we don't have an incentive to really achieve if I have an easy life and my parents take care of me till I'm 30, why should I push myself? But I pushed myself because I didn't have that luxury. And I have a drive. I have a natural drive, I think. Silently, I have ambitions, so I want to achieve them on my own. I'm a very independent thinker. So, but yeah, in short, I would say, it was much more manual. You're doing a lot of trial and error. You didn't have so much information. If I had the resources I have now, for my children, it's much easier, I think, than for me. I didn't have, somebody holding my hand every year. Even deciding what I wanted to do like 5 things after high school. I wanted to be a pharmacist. It's like my mood of the day. So I like that though. Yeah, mental freedom.
Definitely. But I always think about this thing. And I was talking to one of my friends yesterday about this thing, and he was asking me questions about a time that I went to university and we had to, hide books so that we can find them when we get back to the library. And the books that would be available at the library would be this similar kind of law school, similar kind of books. It could be maybe 2 copies or 3 copies, so you had to hide all that. And now you are. There is a lot of books, not only books. There is YouTube, all kind of videos that you can learn from. So, would you say that time was based or this one?
Oh, that's tough. I mean, when you have things, you want to utilize them. That's how I feel about AI. I mean, just utilize it, use it for your own advantage. I wouldn't say it's better, but maybe it makes you stronger. It's a different statement to say it's better. I'll give you a funny story about books. One trick I figured out when I was in college. Even there, we're poor, But what I used to do, I'd always go in that library at the beginning of the year, and I would look at the older edition for all the books that I am supposed to have, because textbooks are very expensive, easily over $100. It almost feels like a racket the way things are done in the US. Every book's $100 or more, and it's mandatory. So what I used to do, because it wasn't online and all that, or it'd be blocked, I would go to the library and I would look at the older edition. And the field I studied, it's not like it changed every year. Supply and demand didn't change from 1990 to 2000. It's still the same in 2025. Stock market didn't change. That it changed technologically, but the concepts, the theory is the same. So I would look at older editions. So I would always do this the first day, the moment I know my class and the textbooks. I would go on the library quickly before other people get it. I would get 4 or 5 books. So I did this for years. Sometimes I was unsuccessful, but that's the things you have to do. And it forces you actually to be creative, because I don't have the luxury of just buying whatever I need. And it makes you resourceful. But I think that's what America taught me personally, just to be very frank. It makes you resourceful. There's always a way. There's always a loophole. So it's not exactly the same, obviously, as Ethiopia. I'm not even comparing it like that. But in our own way, we have to find solutions for various things.
Okay, Mike, if you are forced to compare and contrast the countries that you lived in and you went to school in, for example, there is Greece, there is Britain, and there is a little bit of Ethiopia and America. Do you have any favorite?
Comparing schools?
Yeah.
Oh, I really liked England.
All right.
I missed it actually.
Is that because of the accents of the
Yeah, I had a British accent. It's too bad I didn't live there long enough. I had a proper British accent. But no, the UK was just so open, culturally very diverse. I really liked the UK. Obviously, I enjoyed Ethiopia. I was a bit young, but I missed that as well. If you told me to pick, though, the one I had the most, mainly because it was the shortest, but it was sweet. I really liked going to school in England. You don't feel like you're different being an African there. I didn't feel that way. Whereas in the US, you kind of feel it, especially at a younger age, being Black. But yeah, I would say there.
All right. Going to all these schools and these places, I would imagine Mike was getting money from Ethiopia because your dad used to work for the Ethiopian Airlines. So did you have to work?
In high school, I couldn't work because I was not eligible at the time. So it was a blend of scholarships.
Right.
So for high school, I was able to get some reduction. It wasn't full because I went to kind of a Christian school and they did a lot of funding. There was a lot of Ethiopians at our school. On any given year, there was 40 Ethiopians actually. So a lot of it was through missionary kind of programs. So scholarships. I think after college, I started working where I could. So that's when I started supplementing my education. But I was very fortunate, obviously. You can't easily say that. And I always appreciate it. But my father, he didn't care. Like, no matter what, like, get educated. And, that it's an investment. And you see the result now. Not only in my life, but in my children's life. I mean, it has what you call a multiplier effect. Seems like a big thing then or impossible, but it's actually a huge impact it had. I was the first person in our family to graduate from college, and we have a big family. I've got 7, there's 7 of us just from my siblings, 3 older brothers. So it was a big accomplishment, very big thing we have pride in. Obviously now I have cousins and everything who've graduated. So, but education, obviously, I know it's cliche. People say this all the time about parents, Ethiopia especially, but education was never a joke. And I believed it. I genuinely believed that. And I believe it till today. Like every day I need to learn, like otherwise.
Really? Even with AI and ChatGPT?
AI helps you learn. AI is the best. ChatGPT is the best tool to learn, actually, if you leverage it. But yeah, I think you can't stop learning. If I'm 80 years old, I always tell my friends, I used to say, if I win the lottery, I think I'll just do a PhD or something. I think that's how much I enjoy it. Maybe I wouldn't at that point if it actually happened. But learning, I think you get bored. I get bored at some point if I'm not learning. That's why even professionally, I switched around, kind of done different things within the sector I'm in. So it's given me a very broad lens. But the real underlying driver is to keep learning. And AI is great for that, in my view.
I mean, yeah.
Depending on how you use it.
We'll talk about that later. But I just want to know one thing. You mentioning about Ethiopia and the different places that you have had the chance to study in. Do you remember where the idea or the concept, the perception of Ethiopia for Mike is formed?
Family. So I was always surrounded by family.
All right.
And it was always very positive about Ethiopia. That's why I live here now, because over the many years I lived outside, it was always like, when will I go back? It was not if I will go back. Despite me living away almost 30 years of my life outside of the country, I think family formed that. Number two, I used to come, obviously. I had that passion to live here and do something. Because I'm sure you heard it from other people, but you can make somewhat of a bigger impact in Ethiopia. Your marginal addition to the society, to the culture, to your business, whatever field you're in, is higher here than it is in the US. It's probably an obvious thing, but you're a cog in the machine there, even if you're super senior in my view. But here, I feel like I can make a bigger change. And I always had that vision, even in college. Is I'm learning, getting experience with the idea of to come back. It was always alamai number from day one. So, yeah, I think that's one way to put it.
No, amazing. Mike, you're really articulate in Amharic as well. For a person who lived outside Ethiopia, maybe probably for 25 years in the US and as a places, I wouldn't expect you to have the Amharic that you have today. Give us some information about that, because most of the audience that we have for this podcast is in the US and Canada, and I've had guests that are from the US and other places, so they struggle with their Amharic, most of them.
Yeah. You know what I think helped me? Because remember, I think I was saying earlier, just to reflect, I went to a boarding school in Pennsylvania, in Lancaster Mennonite High School. It's amazing how many people I meet here, even actually, since I've been living here, across generations. So when I lived there, I was surrounded by a lot of Ethiopians who had just moved from Ethiopia. For them, actually, English was a bit of a barrier. For some of them, not obviously. But they grew up here, and then I grew up there. We mingle. I didn't forget the language, but those 4 years really helped me not, lose it. In hindsight, I didn't know at the time, but every day, you're talking Amharic every day. Your friends, you literally have roommates. My roommate was Ethiopians a couple of years. So that helped a lot. Writing and reading, obviously, is hard. I've forgotten that. Even now, I'm still learning. So that helped. Coming back, like I said, I like to learn. So I make an active effort to engage as much in Amharic, even reading, etc. Still a long way to go. But my job has actually helped me, because I don't really, to be honest, deal with a lot of diaspora. I mostly mingle, or my job brings me around a lot of local Ethiopians. I'm not in an NGO or anything like that where I have to speak English all the time. So, and that's helped, I think. But it's those years in high school, I think that helped me, in my opinion. And then obviously my family, etc. We always communicate.
All right, let me take you back to the US. I was thinking, having that life in the US, experiencing whatever you experienced in the US, the prestige was there, I believe.
Yeah.
And the comfortable life, the convenience of getting the things that you want to get in life were there. Why come back to Ethiopia?
Let me actually continue a little bit early. I didn't finish. It's more about the work stuff, but maybe let me continue. So I did my graduate school. So I was in DC for a couple of years at Hopkins. And that's when it kind of clicked to me. Okay, how much more do I have to achieve in this country? Let me have children. Let's have children, God willing. Let's have children. And then why don't we raise them there? It was always the mentality I had with my wife. So as I was going to school, etc., I came back to Houston. I went back because my wife was there, fiance at the time. I found a job and I said, let me do something harder. Let me find something more technical. But I had a plan 5 years or so of doing that. Let's start a family, etc. I don't think I was this programmed, but I mean, in hindsight, I kind of had a plan, a 10-year plan after graduate school. So I always had like 5 to 10 years, I'm going to exit this country. Luckily, I went back. Houston, I worked for a year or so back in the energy sector, more doing research this time for a British company. And then a year later, I got a job offer from a bank. I always wanted to work in a bank. I know it's not fascinating, but for finance people working in the bank, and I worked in a treasury function, so you really understand kind of the economy. When you work, because treasury manages the money of the bank. So I worked on a small team. It was a top 20 bank in the US, but you learn the plumbing of the economy. You learn which sectors are active, what sectors are less active based on the loan portfolio of the bank. You learn about real estate. You learn about vehicle financing. You're exposed to a lot of different fields. So it's like you're getting paid basically to learn about the economy. So I got that job. I said, let me do this. But I said, I'll do it for 5 years or so. And I learned a lot. I had an amazing colleagues, amazing managers. I worked with a lot of PhD statisticians, economists, mathematicians. So really bright people. People went to Chicago, etc. So every day you're learning. I learned myself how to program and code on my own, more or less, because of that job. So that was constant stimulation. Not professional, by the way. I'm just saying, at least conceptually. And I enjoyed that part of my work. But all in, like, not school, all in day-to-day job. So that also gave me clarity. Okay, where's this thing going? Like that AI and things I'm seeing now, I'm not saying I predicted it or anything like that, but it's not surprising that things are just moving that way. More analytical, more data-driven. We all have devices. We all have this. We're generating so much information. And obviously with a bank, you actually get paid to understand behavior, consumer behaviors, sectoral behaviors and things like that. So we had a very small team. I had to do a lot of things, but I was projecting, making forecasts, building tools for the bank management, really understanding the finance function, the value of money. That itself was an interesting capital markets. So now you're learning more about the fixed income part, the debt market, how companies borrow, individuals borrow, banks borrow. So banks are big borrowers, by the way. People don't know this, but banks are very active borrowers in capital markets. And I'll come later to the current job, but these are the things that help me form my mentality about what I could do here. So, but yeah, like my plan, back to your, specifically your question, my plan was always, let me build some experience. At some point, 40 plus, something like that. Let me try to go back home. Luckily, some of the policy changes that were happening aligned with my background in the last 5-6 years. Ethiopia was opening up, liberalizing their economy. So that's one reason that motivated me to come here, was not only I've got enough experience, it's a timing issue. I'm fortunate in terms of timing. If I was 25, it wouldn't have been the same because I wouldn't have as much understanding in a real developed market. But yeah, that was what made me move. It wasn't challenging. It was challenging, don't get me wrong, but like I said, I need stimulation and something new. So it's been great, more or less.
All right. Ethiopian Securities Exchange. What is that?
It's not easy to explain in English, by the way. Amharic is even harder. So Ethiopian Securities Exchange is the company I've helped lead and form from a project phase. A securities exchange is basically a marketplace, Gabiano, basically, for shares. What a securities exchange does globally, obviously different levels of sophistication, but whether you're here, Malaysia, New York, London, the function is I'm connecting investors, people who have funds, with those who need money. Primarily through two forms, shares or action in America, or debt. So bonds, bills, short-term debt. So you're providing a platform, literally a technology platform. So what a securities exchange does, it provides this platform. It's a meeting place. It provides this platform for those who need capital and those who don't have capital to meet efficiently in a regulated manner. So it's very regulated. There's rules to issuing shares or bonds so that the investor has as much information as possible. You're not just blindly investing. So Ethiopia never really had a functioning stock exchange before. We had one in the King Emperor's time in the 60s that was open briefly. It's what we'd call over the counter. So people would deal like this without the system, but it would be published and everything. It wasn't too bad actually, given the circumstance. At that time, there were not many exchanges in Africa. There's a whole book on it, actually. I need to read it. That documents a bit of that history. It was under National Bank of Ethiopia at the time, NCB kind of. So they had a dealing group. There were bonds. Their government was issuing bonds. So imagine, we had it 60 years ago.
Wow.
With fifth of the population. But we never had it regulated. There was no law. Following Dirk and the communist government, it was abolished because everything got nationalized. So it was dormant for 50 years. But during that time, the whole world everybody has an exchange. Eswatini has an exchange. Everybody, you could say. We were literally the largest country without a capital market. Us and DRC, the Democratic Republic of Congo, by far. So in short, what to say is we're connecting those who need capital. So you're giving another option besides bank finance. So think about it. You want to start a business. You want to start a media company.
Yeah.
Where do you normally go for capital? You go friends, family, potentially bank. These are all limited quantities of capital usually. And in our country, you have to have collateral. If you want a bank loan. Not only collateral, which 99% of us don't have, you also, you can only borrow for a certain amount. The duration is short. So capital markets, why they come in handy, why they're important, is for anything above, X years, if you need long-term capital. So a lot of times, when we talk to banks, etc., they feel, capital market will take our business. But even in America, I don't know the exact data today. I would say 80% of the financial market is still bank finance. 75, majority. The capital market's complementary. It's a major complementary asset, a complementary market, but you still need bank finance. That's traditionally where people go because debt is just more easily understood. So that's what an exchange does. It 3-4 things. I'll summarize. It connects a place for buyers, for people to trade shares. Secondary market, as we call it. Primary market is the term you use when you first issue a share. So your media company, in example, you issue shares to, 10,000 people. You issue shares, they own a part of your company. So they're an equity owner. They don't know when they'll get paid. It's because that's the risk with equity. Whereas debt, you know when you get paid. So you can either issue a share to start that media company, or you can issue a bond. But what makes the stock exchanges more attractive is generally the share market. Volume-wise, debt is probably bigger in the world. More debt gets issued because it's repeating and more predictable and fixed most of the time. But equity raised the matrix, and then investors, it gives them another option to invest. So I talked a lot about the issuer side, but the investor side is very important. What are your options to invest? You put it in a bank account, savings. You get a savings rate. So you don't even get inflation. You can buy real estate out of rich from, I would say 99.9% of the population. Vehicles in our country, at least. Gold, other hard assets. But a lot of those things are not small capital. you need decent amount of capital. What shares bring, being able to own shares, you can invest very small. And the real beauty of a stock exchange, and really what we're trying to do, is I can own a share with whatever dependent on my own personal income. I could be a billionaire or I could be a student. So when I was in college, I would invest very small money just to learn about the market. I had an investment club with my friends. I mean, we were buying like, what they call penny stocks, like 30 cents or something like that for $100. But it helped you learn. It helps you learn the value of investing. What is going on? You read about the company. It gets you in that mindset. So that's what always fascinated me about exchanges. Without an exchange, it's very hard to do that. Let me just put it that way. We didn't have an exchange. We have banking-wise, just for like bank sector alone, we have 30 plus banks. All of them are share companies. It could take you 1 week to a month to trade. By the time you find a buyer or a seller, if you're the other side, transaction costs. If you're not on Addis Ababa, it's very challenging. You gotta come here, or you have to have power of attorney. So imagine the transaction costs, not just financially, but time. You have a wedding or you have family you need to support. I mean, these are the normal things people buy and sell shares, right? It's not just purely investment. You want to get gains. You want to give a gift for your wife or your kids. So it was so hard to trade. So one reason we're being created, the exchange is coming, is to reduce that friction. So I got into a long diatribe. But basically, you want to make the system more efficient. And I think that's what very stimulates me for the job. And that's what we've achieved so far. But I can provide more details.
Absolutely. Was it challenging thinking about the whole thing and trying to establish a company in Ethiopia? I mean, for a person who actually came from the first world country like the US, and coming to Ethiopia would be, I imagine, a bit challenging. Take us through that experience.
Yeah, challenging is an understatement. It's very eye-opening, actually. So it's like layers. So exactly like you said, there's the fact that I haven't lived here in a long time. I've never opened a business, let alone here. So there's that. One layer. Second layer is there's a huge awareness. I mean, you're literally having to teach people what this thing is, just like I'm trying to explain here. And it's not easy. It's been a closed economy for a long time. Suddenly telling people about shares, like it's not an easy concept. It's very easy for me to teach you about gypsum board or something like that to the common man, in my view, or the value of gypsum, of this wall or something like that. But you're trying to explain a share and how you own a company, you get dividends and capital gain and all that stuff. So you really have to really break it down. I'm not the judge to say if we've done that right, but there are certain anecdotal points I would say that I think we've been doing an okay job, given our team, but very challenging. It's a very challenging environment for starting something new. And to be honest, the macro picture was not exactly supportive for us to do this at the time. So this is 2022. We started our project. There was only 3 people as project managers and project office. So, and we didn't have like unlimited resources. It's not like we could just get a consultant here, donor there, and all that stuff. We had one donor who was financing the whole project with limited funds. So we had to develop the business plan. So just like you creating a media company, I mean, it's a simple example. You're writing the document. So you're having to cover the business plan, financial projections you're having to make with no data. You have no idea. You have very little data to work with. I have no idea how many trades will happen. And the way stock exchanges make money, just for informational purposes, is through the fees you charge, service fees. Primarily, when somebody buys and sells, you're giving a platform, we charge money. So we had to project these things for 10 years in a country where there's no exposure, no ecosystem. So that also made it hard, by the way. So capital markets are many things. It's not just exchange. It's not just a regulator. They're actually important parts in the middle, but there's all the surrounding players, the service providers. They call them brokers, for example. Investment banks, dealers, advisors. We didn't have any of that. It's literally the authority. We had the law in 2021. The authority was writing rules. They were set up as a project office similar to us, also with a very small team, a mix of diaspora and local, and our team, which was running. So we're part of the operational part. We provide the system, and we also have regulatory powers. We have members, kind of like ECX. So commodity exchange is an exchange.
Yeah.
Not exact same, but ECX has members as well that trade coffee, sesame, and all those things. We have the members for us are the brokers. They're the ones who face the people. Direct interaction ያላቸው ብሮከሮች ናቸው ወይ አገናኝ አባል ይባላሉ በአማርኛ. So yeah, it was not easy. So I really, just to emphasize, we did a lot of things ourselves, but it was for good. We developed a business plan. The rules we wrote, basically our team, a lot of the rules, not all of them. We had some consultants, stakeholder engagement. We weren't just sitting writing papers or anything. We were out and about a lot at our own expense, mostly. We had like 400 meetings. We were actually judged based on the number of meetings we had. We had kept a database. I think we stopped at some point because it was just getting too much. So between 3-4 people, we had 400-500 meetings in the first 2 years of the projects. A lot of them bilateral, but a lot of this was awareness creation with the sector, at least the financial sector for the most part, because they're the closest to us. And we had to raise money. So the stock exchange is a public-private partnership, majority private. So you have to build a compelling business plan. We had to convince not only private sector, but government as well that this thing is worthwhile financially and sustainable. So we did a lot of that work. Most importantly, I really want to emphasize is you learn everything. I mean, I worked in the capital markets, but I didn't work at a stock exchange. That's its own animal. So even personally, I'm learning as I'm going. You learn a lot from peers, other countries, exchanges. So we visited 3-4 countries. We visited Nigeria, Ghana, Kenya in the first 6 months of the project to learn what's working and also to learn what's not working, most importantly, because we have similar demographics, similar societies. So we picked up a few things in terms of what we could do differently in Ethiopia. But I'll pause there. Excuse me.
I mean, when you talked about the whole process and the details about setting up the company and having this engagement with the stakeholders and trying to raise funds, I was thinking about this thing being big and complex. Do you see any future in this for Ethiopia?
It's not easy. It's hard to predict. Let me try to say the simple things that support it. You need a decent sized economy for a capital market to thrive. It's very different me starting an exchange in Rwanda. And nothing against Rwanda. It's just numbers because they only have 3-4 million people.
Yeah.
But starting an exchange in a country with 130 million people with a growing economy, you already have supportive ingredients for success. It's hard for me to say, will it thrive? That's one reason. Let me say the positive first. So number one, the macro, perfect is not perfect. I'm not saying that. I'm not proclaiming we have a perfect economy by any means. But the inputs are there. Access to finance, we know is a problem. Large companies have a hard time raising money. I mean, bank loans are over 20-something%. Think about it. That's telling you a signal right there that that's too high. Meaning there's such demand for finance. So when you have a capital market, you have another avenue to bring that can hopefully lower the cost of capital for those who need capital. And that's a function of a lot of it. Like I said, a big economy, big consuming population, growing, large country with diverse needs, diverse geography. So that's one, why I think it could work. Number two, the behavior of buying shares is not that new in our country. It's not as you'd think. We have almost 500,000 shareholders before a stock exchange. But just Amara Bank has 150,000 shareholders. And they raised money, in my opinion, and not an easy time, 4 or 5 years ago. So that also is a good anecdotal clue that this could actually work. Number two, like I said, we learned a lot from what's working in Africa. So we don't even promote us. We really call it a securities exchange. We don't like to focus on stocks. Bonds, I think, could really work in this country if the macro and inflation normalize a bit. Bonds are very big in most countries. And one area of stock exchanges have not really capitalized in Africa is on the bond market, besides Johannesburg and stuff, which is not comparable. But a lot of exchanges have ignored the debt market. We're actually very pushing on the debt market. We've had some good success stories already. Still, very young. It's a baby. But people today can buy a government security that gives you 17% on the stock exchange, through the stock exchange. We've never had that in our history, ever. And it's relatively easy. We're going to release a mobile app. So imagine you earn 7% plus in tax. You get taxed on it in your bank account, just as a saver. Here you can buy government securities. I'm not promoting government securities, but they're what you call this risk-free asset. Government can print money whenever it needs. So you get paid at some point, but that's already giving you a nice return. And we only started this a month or two ago. Already we're seeing some appetite. This is the debt market. So it's a win-win for both sides. Government can finance itself more sustainably, Ministry of Finance, and you have a wider pool of people to invest in, including potentially foreigners down the road. So foreigners, if you look at certain exchanges, you'll be shocked. Foreigners actually invest a lot in the debt markets. If you look at Ghana, especially countries with free exchange rates, look at Ghana, they have a massive debt market. Nigeria, a massive debt market. Because it's predictable. Everybody needs debt. A lot of companies need debt for ongoing businesses. It's more predictable. You know what you're getting as an investor. So these are the areas we're trying to leapfrog. Really, I want to stress another important point, but we looked at the debt market as we were studying. Another important segment. It's not as attractive as shares. We call it a money market or interbank market. So if you remember earlier, I was telling you in the US, I worked in a treasury. So the bank borrows money at various rates. And it's like a wholesale market. One day a lot of us deposit a bunch of money. They have excess liquidity. Tomorrow, everybody withdraws. Because you have a lot of agents acting at any given time. It's hard to really predict a balance sheet. So one thing Ethiopia was lacking, it never had a way for a bank with excess to sell money, literally sell money to a bank with shortage. And I think all of us, we've been in a situation where, especially around the holidays, where you go to a bank, you can't take out more than 5K or 2,000 or something like that. If you really ask me, I'm not trying to praise the exchange, but fundamentally, it's about liquidity management. That was never really practiced here because the regulations were not there and the platform was not there. So we designed an interbank market that is quite unique, I think, in Africa, where banks basically, they sign up, they get trained, they can auction for money. Very short term, 1 day, 7 day. So let's say Bank A today needs money. They can go on a platform, literally say, I need $1 billion at this rate. So because interest rate is the price at 13%. The other 29 they can see on this platform. It's a secure environment. It's regulated by National Bank. The rules are written by National Bank. So we worked a lot with the central bank to put this together. You can't do this really without the central bank support. And we never had systems that do this in Ethiopia before. So we were lucky. We could start from scratch. So to give you numbers in terms of success story, why this is important, I'll try to explain very simply. When the banks have liquidity and they're managing money better, they have an outlet to borrow money, that gets multiplied because then they can lend out more money to the real economy. But if you're short and you're illiquid, or even because you just don't know. And we learned this from all these engagements, by the way. It's not common for an exchange to do this. And we needed this to work for the government, the debt market to work. I'll explain that a little bit later, but they're all connected. So if a bank can get liquidity at any time, this is an impact that you feel at the corporate level. A corporate borrower can come and ask, I need X billion today. Just as an example. It's not exact. But it gives the bank confidence. Okay, even if I'm short, I'm not going to lose this business opportunity. I'll lend it to this company. Because if I need money tomorrow, I'll go in the market and literally get funds for short term. It's only 1 day or 7 days. These are really short term. So money markets are very important. They're the foundation of financial markets. It's not the stock market, in my view. If the money market's active, you have more lending in the economy. Even the capital markets more vibrant because they can always borrow money at that rate. So if a money market's operational, me and you can go to the bank and not worry about having maximum withdrawal. I feel like we've made a real impact in that respect. And the numbers show. We launched at the end of October last year. So we're approaching 12 months. We're approaching $1 trillion in trading, which is not insignificant in dollar terms.
$1 trillion in trading.
This is just banks borrowing and lending with each other in 1 year, in less than a year, about 2,000-3,000 trades. So imagine all the banks were not onboarded at the same time. So it's not like we had the whole year. Now there's 26 banks. You know, but like 5 banks would start. They're getting used to it. So the volume actually, it's actually higher if you really extrapolate it. So next year, potentially, it could be really big. So $1 trillion we're approaching. I think we'll hit that next month. So it shows you right there. It's really successful. And to give you an idea, sorry if I move this.
No, it's
to give you an idea, you know, it doesn't make sense when you just say these numbers. You look at it in ratios. So the total bank assets, like the total asset of a bank, of the system, we are almost approaching about 20% of that, 30% in this market. So it really shows you how big this is. Assets meaning loans, all that stuff, equity. If you add all that up, this number is a third of that. It will, I think, hit like a third of it, if not already, based on last year's information. So it's massive. It might, in my view, if it continues this way, and it's uncollateralized. So it's by trust. You even can do it collateralized. That's the next, I think, venture for the product development. We'll do it collateralized, where a borrower gives a security for 7 days. And then if he bankrupts, if the bank bankrupts, at least you have the security. For 2 banks trading, I'm the one borrowing. I give you a security. You give me money. After a week or whatever the term of the loan is, I get my security back. You get the money back. So we will hopefully start that next year. That's the real future. That's how modern markets work. But I said a lot. This is one area I'm passionate about because that's a solution we brought to the market. And this was from engagement. We asked the banks, do you want to buy government securities? What's your appetite with your excess liquidity? No. We just want liquidity. A lot of them, not all of them, but they said we need liquidity. We can independently verify this. So we said, okay, why don't we build this platform? The concept is not that different between auctioning shares and auctioning money. It's really not that different conceptually. So it's been very successful. I think we'll have one of the bigger ones in the African market. The government has been supportive through regulations, really promoting it. And what's lovely now is that you actually see the cost of money every day. We publish the data. We've entered into an agreement with Bloomberg. We'll soon do one with Citigroup. Soon. So we'll start sharing this information to the world. So Ethiopia is kind of opening up, but you have real data. And data is very powerful, as you know. But these are some of the solutions we're working on. That's, not a traditional exchange type of work. So,
Mike, I have to admit, I'm not a numbers guy, but I was trying to read about the whole securities exchange thing and have a little bit of an understanding as to what it is. And while you were speaking and saying all these things, I was thinking, I want to ask him to dumb it down a little bit.
Sorry. I apologize. Sorry.
No.
I'll dumb it down more.
Would you say that Ethiopians understand what you're doing?
Still a learning curve. I wouldn't say so. So we've tried to do a few initiatives at the exchange. We have a digital academy. We have about 10 free modules.
All right.
Already, I think 15,000 people or so have completed, have registered and done training. Way more than we expected because we haven't promoted it that much. I would say the biggest challenge is explaining it. I think it's harder for me to explain it in English, to be honest. You try to give the examples easier. It's not an easy concept. Finance is not easy. You know what makes it a bit hard is that you never had a market. But the moment I give you an application and I can start seeing price, today I buy at 1,000, tomorrow it's 1,100. I made 100. Until you do that, like what I went through in college, even in the US, it's not that simple, by the way. I don't think a lot of people genuinely really understand how the stock market works. to be honest, in my opinion, let alone here. So, but there's a lot of awareness gap. If you ask me the biggest challenge, earlier I think I said the positives, right? I didn't say the harder parts. Capacity is major. And that's the work for all of us. I mean, I spend a lot of energy on that. That's training people, educating internally too, let alone outside. So educating is a work in progress. That will take time. We need to find ways to put this into the curriculum of schools. We have an academy. To be honest, the exchange can only do so much. We're only 30 people. A lot of us are still learning. Usually who carries the burden for training, etc., is the service providers, the brokers, because they have a real commercial incentive. They have to open accounts. They have to open securities accounts where people can trade. They have to do outreach in different languages, etc. So we've tried. We've done, multiple. We visited very many cities. We've had trainings in Hawassa, Mekelle, where else? Dirredawa. A week ago, actually, we had a roadshow, part of the sponsored by the exchange, but we had the brokers with us. Wagagan Capital, CBE, and Ethio Fidelity went with the ESX team to open accounts to educate people. There's still gaps. But to be honest, this is expected. The countries I mentioned to you, Kenya, Nigeria, etc., there's gaps there, and they've had exchanges for 50, 60 years.
Wow.
So that's really the big, I would say, structural barrier for it to realize its full potential. Is we have to work a lot on training. We have to really dumb it down, like you said. We need videos. The beautiful part is today, it's easier than it used to be to do this. You can really trickle information down to the bottom, meaning to the youngest person anywhere. So, but there has to be, I think, both the private sector and the public government side has to really make an effort to teach people. One way I think it's good to learn, actually, that government can help is through I shouldn't call privatization, partial sales of government entities, because we're all familiar with them. Ethio Telecom sells shares. I know all of us have dependency on the telecom. So if I buy a share of telecom, it's one way I learn. Even one share, I know that this year it's paying me this much. I get X dividend, etc. So I believe learning by doing is the only way. And we have to make it. That's why we work at the exchange to really, the whole point of an exchange is you can invest with very little. Potentially with 100 birr, you could invest technically a certain share if it's listed at that price. So you try to democratize it and make it efficient. And the technology costs have gone down a lot. So that's also good. It makes it easy to to spread this technology all over the country. But yeah, a lot of work. I am not buying. That's the biggest challenge, actually. It's not economics. It's not, in my view, inflation or anything, GDP and all that. It's capacity. I think that's what may not let the market realize its potential.
All right. But I was thinking, I know the elites in the area could have the understanding as to how this works and actually sell it to the people that are in similar echelon as they are, the elites. But I was thinking, could you think of any better way or any other way to make it a little understandable for other people so that they can have the understanding, then they can engage? At the end of the day, I'm assuming we're thinking of helping people benefit from the whole process and get some kind of advantage, economic advantage and other kind of advantage. So, I mean, this is a time for AI and all these things. People are producing videos in all sorts of ways. And you understand the most complex things in the world about nuclear physics, about quantum whatever. I'm watching videos about, I don't know, physics. I didn't like physics when I was in high school. Now I watch it. And I'm thinking that there's some relation between physics and spirituality. There is some relation between physics and nature. I didn't have this understanding because they gave me a book. And from the exercise book, they expected me to understand the whole thing about physics and how the world of physics works. So trying to be a bit creative about it is the best way to go about it, I think.
Yeah, I think you have to be creative. That's where I have a lot of room for improvement. It's not easy. That's the difficulty when you come from the sector for so many years, different country. For us, it's even challenging. Dumbing it down. We really have to leverage the tools and get into the hands of people. We have to get in their hands. They're not going to come to us. We can preach all we want. We can say anything we want on interviews and various circles. It's pointless if you keep it in the elites. So you got to do a couple of things, in my view. Products have to be developed that are easy to understand and relatively low cost for you to invest in. And number two, you really have to, language-wise, spread this all over the country. So the applications you build need to really be able to communicate. AI, obviously, I don't know what it will do for this sector, but it's a big plus. I mean, you kind of answered the question. You said you're learning about quantum physics. To me, I mean, that's way harder than this. Because this is like, you can learn this, in my view. It's not impossible. It's new. Remember, this is still fresh. 5 years from now, I predict that it ain't going to be that fresh. Meaning, I see changes even in the last couple of years in the society. Let me give you an example. So I gave training 2 weeks ago to a bunch of students at the Capital Market Authority, about 50 kids. There were 3,000 applicants for this summer camp that the CMA is running, Capital Market Authority is running. I'd say 3,000 students, only 550 or so got in, very competitive. They spent 2 weeks there learning about capital markets. This is your future generation, 75% plus of our population. So this is the people, basically. So the majority. And I was shocked. So I spent there 3 hours in the morning. The questions I was so taken aback. You'd think people don't know. The questions these guys are asking me, Americans would not ask me some of it. They were asking me about risk. You have a stock market, but if you don't minimize the risk, won't that have a big impact on the economy? I mean, it's kind of it sounds simple, but it's not. It's not simple at all for experienced people. Because what is that level of risk? So these are the questions they were asking. They're like, why don't we have, complicated products? This is just basic. Why don't we have derivatives? One of the more interesting questions I got was, they explained treasury bills to me better than most grown-ups, most professors. How does a T-bill work? Someone asked, I asked another student to answer. He laid it out, simple language. These guys were in camp for 2 weeks, imagine. Some of them study finance, but that's our future generation. And obviously these are cream of the crop. I'm not extrapolating to everybody, but it gives you hope because they're the ones who will teach people. That's the generation we need to teach, not me and you. We need to learn too, don't get me wrong. But that's the masses, and they know how to use these tools. They know how to use TikTok. If I said something on Tikva about capital markets, I'll get a lot more viewership than I would on YouTube or something TV, because that's not the communication form they have. So I say give it time. It's not an overnight practice. We need activity. We're just building it now. You can't expect society 100 million people to have awareness.
Absolutely.
We have things that we have to improve. But I'm positive. I'm optimistic, like I said. We have a dynamic society, and the tools that we're getting, AI. There was something I was reading about in a year or so, how far ChatGPT has come. They have this thing called an International Math Olympiad. The brightest mathematicians in the world were competing. And ChatGPT, I think Gemini entered the competition. The year-to-year change in the scoring, they were at the gold level. The AI was at a gold level this year. I think last year was at the bronze. It's amazing. And this is some of the hardest things in the world. Some of the hardest competitions in the world, at least in that field. So imagine AI, when you bring it here, my wish is that a lot of the kids today, they can literally learn how to trade, how to value an asset. Sorry, I don't mean to sound complicated, but AI can do the job of 5 researchers who study a stock in the US right now, especially a widely covered Apple or something like that. I can get AI, I can put a prompt, full research report with the risks and everything. And that's not something I don't think was doable 6 months ago. So imagine in a year, 5 years from now. We have to obviously contextualize the AI to our culture and our language. There's still a lot of work there, in my view, to kind of less westernize artificial intelligence. But yeah, we need to use it as a tool to learn about these things.
All right. Mike, do you still read?
Not like I should. I read, but not as much. There's too many distractions.
No, the reason I'm asking this question is because there is a regret that everybody seems to feel, like friends coming across different people in my work and other places. Everyone keeps telling me that they regret that they are not reading. There is this remorse.
Yeah. We just have too many distractions. To be honest, I read. Maybe I just don't sit and read a book like I used to. But I read. I have various interests. I'm a big student of history. You know, when I was younger, I was very interested in, Machiavelli and things like that. Don't remember a lot of it still, but that stuff fascinates me.
You don't remember reading Machiavelli and forgot it?
Well, not forgot, but it's deep. I was quite young, actually, but those are things I was very into. I love history, African history. I used to read a lot. Now I would say it's more technical stuff. I guess I read more in my field. Like I said, I was learning. My job itself, the details is quite a lot. So still a lot of reading about more on my sector. But down the road, I'm into philosophy and things like that. Especially Eastern philosophy. I want to learn a little more emotional intelligence. So yeah, I don't know if I read, but I have a big wish. I have a lot of books sitting just waiting to be read. But it's a discipline thing. I think it's just, we have to make time, be disciplined. One of the best books I read actually maybe 5 years ago it's called Deep Work. It really teaches you how to be disciplined with your time and minimize distractions and be so efficient and productive in society. It's written by a computer scientist, I think. And he was documenting his life and the changes he made from hour to hour.
You said Deep Work?
Deep Work.
Is that the reason why you don't have any social media applications?
It reinforced that.
Right.
No, I never had. I was never into social media to begin with, just by nature. But that reinforced to me why. So, in summary, people can research this, but the book was about how to optimize your days, both not just work-wise, but with your family, extracurricular activities, and how you can achieve a lot by having literally a deep working environment. You shut off everything, devices, people. You find windows in time, especially in the morning. Between this and this time, I do this. No distractions. It's almost like you're in an artificial cave. It's kind of the way the guy explains it. So that I thought was a very impactful book. I don't implement everything he said, quite honestly, especially in Ethiopia. Maybe in the US I did a bit more because I had more time to think. Here, the nature of the job is very dynamic and interconnected with people. So you don't have that type of time. But that's one thing I think that's left a mark for me in terms of books I've seen. And when I said what's more important, it's not just work. It's not your output. It actually makes you happier because you feel like I've achieved, when you have those moments of deep thought and deep work. So it left that influence and I want to work on it more. We all have room to improve. But yeah, this guy, he was publishing so many papers. It's very hard to publish a paper, by the way, obviously, in the US, imagine. While he had a baby in the house, working full time, distraction, tiredness and all that, but he was so efficient because he adopted this lifestyle. And another thing, I don't know if it's in that book, but another thing I learned is standing up and working. So I have a desk that I stand up. So I try to spend time standing because it's not good for us to sit ergonomically, right? We spend a lot of hours as office people. So that's another habit I picked up, I think, from some of these things I read. They seem like minor things, but they make big impacts over time. Your brain is active, more productive, especially in the afternoon. Better for your posture and all that stuff. So these are the things that,
All right. You mentioned accomplishment throughout the conversation that we had. I noticed that Mike is obsessed. Maybe the wording may be wrong, but Mike is really focused on knowing the details, understanding what is in there, and actually figuring things out in that way. And what is accomplishment for you? Is that having the technical knowledge or anything like that?
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, probably obsessed is the right way. I wouldn't say I'm perfectionist. I do have attention to detail when it's my work. Not a lot of other things, unfortunately. But work-wise, it's just my nature. This is always, I think, a battle I've had. Sometimes it's because it becomes costly. Sometimes it's not optimal because you spend too much time trying to perfect something when it's not that important. So, yeah, I think I'm a bit attentive to detail. It's the field I'm in too. I mean, you kind of have to be. It's numbers half the time that most of the time you're dealing with, and facts. Not facts, but you're trying to tell a story. Like I'm trying to give you a story now. I'm trying to explain to you why the stock market could work. It's storytelling, a lot of finance. It's behavioral. It's psychological. It's not just numbers. So detail matters. And you have to strive to, I think, be detail oriented in your life. Whatever you do, by the way. You could be a mother at home. It impacts all of us. And I think you get some sort of satisfaction if you're improving, self-improvement all the time. And some of that is by paying attention to detail. Sorry, I didn't catch fully your question, but...
I mean, I asked you about accomplishment because you mentioned it. And how do you relate?
Technically? Yeah. No, I think it's been good. I mean, nobody's perfect. I was forced to do things. I was lucky because people trusted in me. I did different jobs. I felt always I was elevated. My first year at Citi, I was promoted to vice president. Very few colored people in the company, just to give you an idea. It's rare. It was predominantly Caucasian, very few blacks, very few non-whites, period. But at that time, for me, I felt proud because I'm a new guy. I'm not fully American per se, but it gave me confidence that I can excel in that environment with a lot of people who have better means, basically, and know the culture better, etc. But over time, one thing I've learned is I don't stay somewhere if I feel kind of stagnation, mental stagnation or intellectual stagnation. We always can learn. And I think because I've had that mindset from day one, even if when I was clueless, probably at a younger age, still I don't like using this word expert and all that. I'm always learning, but yeah, I feel like I've accomplished a lot of things. I've been challenged to certain things. Like I said, in high school, I dropped a keyboarding class. That's how much I hated computers.
Wow.
Actually, that was the only class I dropped because I was just like, oh. And this is the late 90s. Imagine, .com era. Everybody's into internet. People are all over the computer, fascinated. And I didn't have any interest. Fast forward, I realized in the workplace, okay, these are skills that matter. I need to kind of have an idea. Not professional, amateur. But over 6-7 years before I moved to Ethiopia, I spent a lot of time doing this. And I liked it, actually. I liked programming, at least the programming we did, because you see the value it brings, how efficient you can do things. And you see the power of technology. You see the power of data. We built a tool in our company where we were predicting the whole bank balance sheet every day. How much money the bank will have. It was about $100 billion, I think, of a balance sheet. And basically it was me and one person who developed this tool, and management would see it. And you even see, and this is all the power of programming and data, but this is all self-taught, more or less. Googling and all that stuff. We didn't have ChatGPT. Today I can just get ChatGPT to write it for me. Would have saved a lot of energy and hair. Yeah. But it challenges you, gets you out of comfort zone. Like I said, it was never an interest of mine. But ever since then, even here, when I work here, I try to get the kids to do things that manner from a data science perspective. because those are the skills. And I did not know AI would be here. I had no idea.
Yeah.
But those are the skills you need in this economy and the world, in my view. At least one of the skills. You need to have basic knowledge of how programming languages work. You don't need to be in the sector and how those operations are run, et cetera, but the power of that can really be leveraged in our country. I'm really optimistic on that, on the tech side, if you asked me.
All right, Mike, you mentioned history as a background and liking philosophy and some of the Eastern practices of spirituality. For a guy who likes numbers,
Sorry.
Well, for a guy who likes numbers, would you imagine that would be practical to have those interests in philosophy and Eastern spirituality?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, it's something I'm recently interested in. So I'm not by any means like pro or anything, but I've been kind of curious about it. I think it's a very good complementary because it's so opposite for me, I think for people from my background, because it's very, capitalist, go,
Yeah.
Cash, money. And I think it's complementary. I think you need a balance in life. I believe in a lot of balance in general. I think it's very complementary, actually.
Would you?
I don't know enough about it, and that's my next chapter.
Yeah.
I want to learn more about.
I know. The reason I'm asking this question is because Eastern spirituality or anything related to meditation and things of that nature, they would want you to be that free individual who is living today, who is present at the moment. But a guy who understands numbers, I imagine, is a guy driven by logic, calculation of things and things of that nature. So would you live that way and try to be present only today, not thinking about tomorrow?
I think they can coexist.
Really?
Yeah, I don't see why not. I really think you can make it work. I think they can coexist. Yeah, I use my gut to make certain decisions, by the way.
All right.
I mean, a simple example. I don't know if it was the most logical thing for me to move 4 years ago to Ethiopia, in hindsight. That was more of a feeling and emotion. And, I don't say I know everything that will happen. No, I don't say I had this kind of foresight. I didn't know what I would be doing, to be honest. It was quite risky, actually. So it's not exactly related to spirituality or anything, but I do feel there's that element. Despite, my field, we're humans. I think we're different. Yeah, we tend to lean to one area, most of us, whatever the right side, left side of our brain we use. But I don't believe like we're just 99.9 one way. I feel like the older you get to, maybe I should put it that way.
Sure.
A simple way to explain is the older you get, you start getting attracted to your non-core areas, non-strength, and because you want to be more rounded. And I really think that's the next chapter for all of us. You reach a certain age, you have family, you have children, you start evaluating things a little differently. It's not all about logic. Raising children is not all something you put on paper. It's a lot of trial and error. I think that's taught me a lot too, is to use your emotions and gut feelings. But I think they can coexist, honestly. Right. I don't see why not.
All right. I mean, seeing the decision you made to move back to Ethiopia, I can understand how that can work, actually. That's a big thing, because I was thinking having that experience and coming back to Ethiopia and trying to experience the life that we live in here, it's a bit different, because the environment, the people that you meet, and the interaction you have with the government, the people, and all kind of things is a bit different from your experience. And I mean, having that feeling of coming back and really acting on it is courageous. It's big. What's next for the Ethiopian Securities Exchange?
I appreciate it. It's fun. Honestly, it's been fun living here. I tell people it's like going to school.
All right.
Every day you're learning, and that's what's exciting. Almost 30 years that I was not living here, 29 years or so, that since I left Ethiopia as a child. So I'm re-educating myself on a daily basis, both local context, culture. Yeah, and I know the culture, don't get me wrong, but the nuances every day, you learn a lot. And I'm been fortunate. I'm exposed to a lot of people through my work. It connects me to a lot of people from different walks of life, different parts of Ethiopia, different sectors. It's not just financial sector. So it's been very rewarding, very, very fun, a great journey. Next steps, it's a lot of the stuff we said earlier. I don't want to repeat, but it's really getting it to trickle down into society. It needs to be away from the exchange, the attention, and really onto the investors, the brokers, the other actors. So we've I wouldn't say fully done our job, but what I was brought on board to do was provide the platform, develop the business, start a company. A lot of those boxes have been checked. These are like the mechanical things, not so easy mechanical things, but I would still say relatively the easier things. That's been done. The exchange has been launched. It's an official company. It's getting more institutionalized. We have 30 plus people now. Almost everybody's been over a year, so very familiar with their roles in the exchange itself, but wider ecosystem development and product development. When I say product is really, so the exchange provides a platform. When I say product, I said, stocks, debt, and all that. But products for the country, Sharia compliant financial instruments, big appetite, a lot of work to be done there. Huge demand. We get asked a lot. So some of that work needs to be done by the exchange, by the ecosystem, by the regulator. Different borrowing programs for the exchange. One program and product we're interested in and pursuing, hopefully this year will start, is an instrument called commercial paper. So it's like a short-term borrowing program for a company. So a government issues a treasury bill. So government, I owe you for 1 year. It could be actually as short as 1 month, 3 months, 6 months, 12 months. So these are relatively low risk because the money is going to get paid quickly.
Yeah.
So the government market has started. We want to do that with the private market. Why is this important? In Africa, we've seen in a few countries, it's been very successful. Nigeria, very successful commercial paper program. Over 200 companies this year have issued one of these. So this is for working capital. So if you have a large company, I don't know, example, maybe Ethiopian Airlines, they need working capital for 6 months, not a loan. But nowadays, a lot of times what happens, and I may not be 100%, is they go to a bank, not ET, but any large company goes to a bank, overdraft, they pay very high rates, they have to return it. This gives you a different option. It's not going to change that totally, but it gives you a different option for a private company for the basic stuff, payroll, supplies. They don't have to keep cash on hand because it's not efficient. They can minimize how much cash they have and use the capital market because these are predictable costs. I know my payroll, more or less I can project it for short term, salary, etc., expenses. If I'm a hotel, I have toilet paper. These are the things. So using the capital markets, connecting investors who can invest in this product is one area we're excited in because we've actually seen it work on the continent. Nigeria has been very successful. Ghana just started this thing through the exchange. So this is also debt. It's not equity, but we think it can work here with the right development and capacity. And the system is very basically ready. System is not the hard part. And more listings, obviously. Sorry. More listings. We have 3 listings so far. 3 companies are actually listed. Wagagan Bank, Gada Bank, and Ethio Telecom trading Al-Jammaram. It hasn't started trading yet, but it will start trading soon. And we have a target of about 9 listings over the next year and a half.
Mike, let me act not in terms of bodily actually representing your mom, but her worry. Are you bored yet?
From the work?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a hard question. I wouldn't say bored. Yeah, you want different challenges. We'll see. Time will tell. I wouldn't say I'm bored.
All right.
It's not boring at all. But there's a lot to do in this area alone, to be honest, let alone the wider economy. And, we're opening up. Many things are changing as we see. The climate summit happened this week. I met so many people who've never been here and were really just taken aback by the city. Sometimes I think as Ethiopians, we're very hard on ourselves. Foreigners are almost more positive than us, my opinion. But I think times are exciting. If we have stability in our country, I think the potential, the sky is the limit. We just, launched the dam. It's a very positive time. And the potential has never been an issue with Ethiopia. It's really just actualizing the potential. That's always been, I think, a challenge in my view.
You're actually the first guy after the inauguration of the dam. So
yes.
Is there anything you want to say about that?
No, I'm so proud. I mean, like any Ethiopian, I donated for the bond that I got some time ago. But no, it's a very emotional time for all of us. It's a pride for the world. I don't think it's just for Ethiopians. It's pride for Africa. And I'm just really appreciative that I'm able to be on the earth to see this. It's not a small thing at all, despite all the challenges. I mean, but I'm very proud to be an Ethiopian, as I've always been, and even more so now. But like I said, I'm an optimistic guy. I think we'll even do bigger things as a country.
All right. We tend to bring people, Pan-Africans, a lot to this show. We talk about Africa a lot. And the future of Africa, we think, is brighter than what people actually portray it to be. I'm saying that because I'm an African, I'm an Ethiopian, obviously, who loves Africa and Ethiopia. But my guests tend to be people was thinking of Africa in a bright way. Do you share that?
Thinking of Africa in a bright way?
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, yeah. That's easy to answer, 100%.
No, the reason I'm asking that question is just dreaming about it and being optimistic is one thing.
And doing it.
And being practical about it is another thing.
Yeah. I think the second part you said, I'm very, what they use the word bullish or very positive. I mean, I vote with my feet. I came here with my whole family 4 years ago, giving up relatively, honestly, comfortable life in a very stable country, stable city that was growing, etc. So if I couldn't feel optimistic on the ground, in reality here, not just vision, I would not come here. It's like the Americans say that you vote with your feet, Talk is talk. A lot of people say this and that, but we always tend to vote with our feet when there's problems or good things, is my view. And I wouldn't have done that if I didn't truly believe in Africa, not just Ethiopia. And I was always fascinated. Like, I've learned a lot about Africa, by the way, since I've been here, because I get to travel, luckily. And I meet a lot of people. Financial sector connects you with a lot of people. I meet guys from everywhere: West Africa, South Africa, East Africa. And it's amazing. Like, we're very similar. We're not that different, actually. Languages differ, but we're very similar. And I'm always learning from people I meet. But besides the challenge, if I wasn't truly optimistic, in reality, not just vision and dream and idealism and all that, but in reality, problem solving, we have 1 million problems in this country. And that will never, you'll always have something to do if that's what drives you, for the most part. And I think that's what drives me, is coming up with solutions to certain fundamental problems we have. If possible, transformational changes, big stuff, not minor things. If I have the capacity, I want to make major changes in my field or whatever it is.
Were you feeling the same about Africa before?
Before I moved?
I mean, before, during your time in the US, working in the US?
Yeah, because I met brilliant Africans there. My 2 neighbors were Nigerians the last 6-7 years. So, we chat a lot. It's very eye-opening. I have African friends, high school. Some of my friends over 25 years from Nigeria were still very tight. And I've been fascinated. I'm like a United Nations. I enjoy. I get bored, actually, when we're all the same.
All right.
But yeah, I was always positive on Africa. Actually, more on Africa than Ethiopia, to be frank.
Wow.
Before. Now I think more here because I'm in it. And I really think it's time for the continent to rise. I know it's a bit cliche to say this, but I actually believe it. This is where the growth will happen in the next 30, 40 years.
Mike, I have finished my questions. If there is anything that you want to say at the end.
No, I'm so appreciative for you having me. I hope this is enlightening, at least somewhat interesting to the audience. And I really appreciate it. Thank you, Abraham.
Thank you so much for coming. All right.